So I think what we just talked about, the way they categorize that is camp in, what I'm doing, camp on, what you're doing, and then camp out, what Kirk's doing. So that's like the three categories of truck camping: camp in, camp on, camp out.
Yeah.
And they all have plus and minuses, right? Like we all kind of described. So
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And I think it all comes down to the specific person and
what you're looking to do.
what you're looking to do. Like, for example, what I was saying, like, I like to use my truck for truck stuff, and that's, I just like to say that I'm not actually doing anything cool, but, but if you need to haul anything,
Groceries.
you need to pick up a couch, you need to do whatever, like a lawnmower, like being able to use it, like I like that ability to have the modular approach, but you lose a little bit with that approach specifically, but. They all have their plus and minuses is I guess what we're getting at here.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this is that it's trending right now, but this has been going on since the 1970s.
Oh yeah,
Like
probably before that.
truck.
I mean the station wagon days, you know.
Well, like truck campers, you see,
Oh, yeah.
like the old '79 F-150 with like an old truck camper.
Yeah.
So it's just really gaining in popularity. I think post COVID, it people getting out trying to stay mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's yeah, you're exactly right. And I don't know, I geek out on it too.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I love like building a system and making it work, and that's why like anybody that's been listening to my stuff for a long time, I was like super against buying a brand new vehicle, and I still don't know if I'm a fan of it, but I kind of came down to a point where the used market to have a reliable vehicle to be able to travel me across the country was ridiculous. And, for a few $1,000s more, essentially, I could be in a brand new vehicle, but I was like strategic on what I wanted to buy. And Kurt's been a big Toyota fan, and I'm not sitting here stroking Toyota because I haven't used one long enough. But anybody I talked to is like, Toyota's a reliable vehicle, kind of built for off-road, not meant for hauling a lot. Like, one thing I need to do is install airbags on the back of my truck, because when I put heavy stuff in there, it sags.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah.
look like a city slicker driving around with it, dropping in the back and high in the front. And I don't love that, but I need to, but anyways, so I wanted to build this truck out, for the best I could with the budget, because you can go crazy with it, so like for me, it was like, what I wanted to do was something that had ground clearance, that I could go places, not so high that I can't get in a lot of places, or overhanging trees is a problem, that. So I was like, put a 3-inch lift on it, 35-inch BFG all-terrains that were good, on the road. I've had these tires on my last truck, and then also off-road, and then put some skid plates, because I use it, and I end up going white in color so it doesn't show scratches as bad, because I just beat the living hell out of it in West Virginia already. But like, just going through a bunch of crap. But I wanted to build something that was capable of going places. The last thing I want, and this is a topic for a different conversation, but is a winch, because I've always wanted a winch since I was a kid.
Yeah. You need.
That's pretty cool. Do you have a winch?
I don't. Not on my truck. No.
There are times in Colorado where I wish I had a winch.
Yeah. I have like
and I
other
felt a lot better if I did.
recovery methods. But I think what you're saying though, Beau, is important. Like, because like listeners might be thinking, why are we harping on this topic of like truck camping? There's this like huge, like we're one segment of camping, right? The truck camping world. But just to kind of frame up what we're talking about, there's this massive spectrum of camping, of tent camping, all the way to like Class A motorhomes. And what you're referring to is like why we're all interested in this is because of like mobility. Like with tent camping, you lose all this comfort. It's very mobile, but with motorhomes, they're not mobile at all. Like trying to get like a motorhome into a trailhead, but they're super comfortable, right?
Yeah.
So we find this like inverse correlation where we find ourselves right in the middle of this X of mobility and comfort, right? So we can four-wheel back into the BLM and have a comfortable setup. And that's really why we're focusing on like this.
Yeah.
It's like truck camping, right?
No, that's a good point to kind of define the why, because like, and the thing is, you can totally do it by just tossing up a bivvy underneath your truck if you wanted to and camp and do that. But I'm going to be honest, like, the more hunting I do and the older I get, some luxuries are kind of nice to have when you're doing that.
camping fun.
Yeah.
Like, I get it if you want to be like, because I looked at getting one of those. I think they're called canvas cutters for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. But I'm like, what do I do when it rains and I want to cook dinner?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just stand out in the rain and act tough and be miserable. Like,
And we use these things for everything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I use it year round for fly fishing, kayaking, I mean, mountain biking, whatever. We're using that as, like we said, the vessel for adventure.
The vessel for
the
adventure.
vessel for adventure.
We talked about this earlier. Yeah,
Yeah.
the vessel.
I know,
for,
but I wasn't letting everybody know we talked about it. I was acting like you just came up with it.
Oh, you wanted
that?
that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Cut that out. And no, in reality, like, yeah, we're using it for hunting, but we could be pulled over on the side of the road up here on the creek we were just looking at and spend the weekend there. You know,
Yeah.
so being comfortable is important. We don't have to sleep in a tent. You know.
Yeah, and also if you have a family and you're trying to take your family out and stuff, adding some creature comforts is kind of nice. And I'll be honest, like, there's one thing, like, camping in the summertime is one thing. You deal with heat, you deal with bugs, but you can get away with a little bit less. You start doing some hunts in November, whether it's out west in the mountains or it's on a DIY rut hunt that you're going out of state to Ohio or wherever. Having some comforts after you're hunting in 30-degree weather all day, to come back and have a setup that makes you feel comfortable and almost, it's not home, but it gives you a little bit of that feeling. It makes you feel good. Like last year in West Virginia, I went down and hunted the rut by myself, and I set up my wall tent, that courthouse I was telling you about, and it was just like, I brought a cot, versus sleeping on the coal mine rocky ground and doing that, which was nice. But what I learned there was I just didn't think in the East Coast you'd have the winds like you do out west, but we got like 50-mile-per-hour winds, and I ended up blowing the tent half over on myself. And Kurt remembers this story, so he's probably laughing, but the stovepipe pulled out of my stove because the winds were so bad, and ripped a hole in the tent in West Virginia, and ended up filling my tent with smoke. Luckily, it was going out because I don't ever run the stove while I'm sleeping because I just worry about those things. And I was just getting ready for bed, and I was like holding down the tent, and I got up. I finally got everything in place, and then I just jumped up in my rooftop tent and slept the rest of the night because I knew that that wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But the reason why I had set that up was because I was driving to different spots to hunt, and I also wanted the wood stove. Wood stoves are pretty freaking nice on cold weather hunts.
Yeah.